So, we have reached the end of the Oden flashback in the One Piece anime, where we got to see the final parts of Goldie Roger's journey, where he discovered the island of Labtail and found the One Piece. And in episode 967 of the anime, and coincidentally 967 of the manga, I'm sure many of you noticed a small detail that may have caught some of you by surprise, and that is the Road Poneglyph that we got to see at Fishman Island. So in this video, I'm just going to basically give my theory on why this poneglyph is no longer here, where it could be now, and who is the one that moved it and why. Again, keep in mind, this is just a theory. None of us but Oda himself know where the story is headed. But before we move along, I have to humbly ask that you all hit that like and subscribe button if you like the content that I am doing. My previous video on Big Mom seems to be doing pretty well based on the status of my channel right now. So for any of you who didn't see it, go and give it a look if it catches your interest. And now with that out the way, on to the video. So as we all know, since the Zoark, we got introduced to some groundbreaking stuff, that being the Road Poneglyph, and we are told that this is what will lead our crew to the final island on the Grand Line, Labtail, where the One Piece is located. It was also stated that in order to find this mysterious island, it requires not one, but 4 of these red poneglyphs out there in the world, and getting the ancient writing on all 4 poneglyphs that point to where Labtail is. And as of where we are currently in the story with our favorite band of pirates, we know the location of 3, or at least a general location of the 3rd, despite not seeing it yet. Following in the route the Straw Hats have gone, we've got Zoe, then Whole Cake Island, and now somewhere in Wano. But currently we have no signs or knowledge on where the 4th is. While in the Oden flashback during his journey with Roger, you can see what should be the 4th poneglyph is in the sea forest of Fishman Island. And this is weird, because we saw that this was the first destination that the Straw Hats came to in the New World. Yet despite going to the sea forest, the exact location where the poneglyph was during the flashback, it's now gone. So this raises the question on what happened to the poneglyph and where is it now? So if we look at each of the known locations for the 3 poneglyphs, there are 2 things that all of these places have in common with one another that I feel stands out the most. And that is each of them is either not an ally with the world government, or it is a location where normal human beings don't reside. Let's go in order of the Straw Hats routes. Zoe, as we know, is on Zunisha, which we are told requires a Viva card to get to and is inhabited by the Minks, and has a long-standing relationship with the Kozuki clan, who reside in Wano, which has closed off its borders since the end of the Void Century. Both Whole Cake and Wano, now while having normal human beings as inhabitants, are both under the control of 2 Yonko, Big Mom and Kaido, who are in direct opposition of the world government. Now, Fishman Island is a bit of an exception to this because despite having a tense relationship with the world government, they are technically affiliated with them for about the last 200 years in the story. But that's fine because this is still clearly a non-human inhabited country, and this isn't about where the poneglyph was, we are talking about where the poneglyph could be. So I don't know how many of you feel considering this potential location has been talked about to death amongst the fan base, but I do think the final poneglyph is at Elbaf. This fits the current trend that I mentioned. Elbaf isn't a place where normal humans aren't a primary inhabitant of the island, and it is also not a member of the world government. So how could this poneglyph have possibly gotten from Fishman Island all the way to Elbaf? Well, I think the only viable option can be none other than Shanks himself, and I'll explain why. It's crazy to think about considering how far we are into the story, but the character of Shanks to this day, 1,000 plus chapters into the story, is still considered one of the biggest mysteries in One Piece, considering how very little we know of his character. But that little bit of information that we do know of Shanks, I feel is what helps serves this theory best. Starting with the fact that Shanks is one of the few current pirates in the story who we know for a fact knew the location of the missing poneglyph. We know Gold Roger and King Neptune were friends in the past, acquaintances at the very least, who were on good enough terms to allow Roger and his crew into Fishman Island and bringing them all the way to the sea forest, showing them the poneglyph. So given this bit of information in mind, I don't think it's crazy to assume that at some point during those 10 years after Shanks departed Fuchsia Village, that he made his way back to Fishman Island and was recognized by King Neptune as that cabin boy once on Roger's crew, and then allowed the same access to the sea forest as Roger was. But now we have to wonder why King Neptune would allow Shanks to take the poneglyph in the first place, why Shanks would want to take it, and why specifically Elbaf. As we know, Shanks is a character who is good with diplomacy, and is a man who seeks to talk to others, offering some form of advice to avoid a situation that can turn out badly for them. As noted by the 5 elders, Shanks is a pacifist by nature who does not seek to actively cause chaos or disorder, and is against the idea of needless bloodshed. Case in point, some examples being when he went to Whitebeard, another Yonko, telling him to call Ace off the Blackbeard hunt. Whitebeard didn't listen, and we all know how that turned out for him and his crew. Then we have this mysterious confrontation between Shanks and Kaido, where they apparently had a run-in the day before Marineford War, following the next day where Shanks arrives to Marineford without a single scratch on him, his ship, or his crew, which I can only imagine was more of his diplomacy skills at work, considering I don't see a situation where 2 Yonko have a serious fight and anyone walks from that damage-free. But I digress. We see this again on full display at Marineford, where he talks down all parties from the Marines to the Whitebeard Pirates to even Blackbeard's group, even going so far as to get Sengoku, the current acting fleet admiral's approval to take the bodies of Ace and Whitebeard. And to cap it off, I feel like I have to just remind you one more time, Shanks is a Yonko who somehow got into the same room as the Gorosei, where they have a discussion about a certain pirate. Now, I can't think of any character in the entire story with Shanks' status who can get that done without having excellent speaking skills to even allow that to happen. I bring up these examples because I imagine it was a scenario where Shanks, who should be on good terms with King Neptune because of their Roger connection, warns him that as long as that Poneglyph is there and outside parties become aware of this, then all of Fishman Island is in danger and will be the target for those who are in search of the One Piece. And just knowing the kind of benevolent, kind king that Neptune is, I can imagine that he took Shanks' warning to heart and did some serious consideration, allowing Shanks to take the Poneglyph. And I just feel like that's really possible because, no cap, if you're King Neptune and Shanks of all people comes and warns you at how dangerous this thing is, knowing that you have no way of defending yourself against somebody like Big Mom or Kaido, being told that this is something that they want, I would do that too. I would give it to Shanks, be like, yo, take this, get it out of here, go. Take it to the farthest end of the Grand Line if you have to, just get it out of this island. I am not putting my people in danger for a red rock. So yeah, that's pretty much why I think King Neptune allowed Shanks to take the Poneglyph, because Shanks is such a good diplomat. He has like a good way with words. But why specifically would Shanks take it to Elbaf is the question. Well, the reason to me is because I think he will want to make sure it is in the most secure location possible, away from anybody who wants this. And as far as we know, the most secure place in the world would have to be Elbaf, the land of the giants. This place is considered to be the strongest country in the world due to the strength of its army. I mean, these are like people who are born to be warriors right from the get-go. And even during the Big Mom flashback, Mother Carmel mentions that the possibility that Elbaf could send their army to declare war against the entire world if they execute their giant pirate members. The Marines released the giants who they captured in fear of this possible scenario. We see again during Whole Cake Island, Big Mom even mentions that if she had the power of the Giants' army under her banner, then at this point she would have already defeated Shanks, Kaido, and even Whitebeard. And to me it's just like, yo, if I want to take something as valuable as a Road Poneglyph and want to bring it somewhere that is not Yonko territory, not a part of the Marines, but can be in a safe location that is well protected, then to me there's just no other place that we know of besides Elbaf that fits any of the criteria that I mentioned better. Who knows, perhaps Shanks even persuaded the Giants to take the Poneglyph off his hands, telling them that this is something that Big Mom herself wants, and since we know all the Giants hate her, I can imagine they would gladly accept the task, if it meant going against her. Like, yo, just imagine how funny that is, like the Giants would actually take this task on just because they don't like Big Mom, just because that beef they have with her. Just sounds pretty funny to me. But of course, by the end of the day, this is all mere speculation and my thoughts on how I feel this entire Poneglyph thing has happened. If you made it this far in the video, I would love to hear what you all think and your theories on how this entire Poneglyph thing played out. And again, if you haven't already, I highly recommend you go and give my last video on Big Mom a look. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a lot. And all of you, have a blessed day.